LeBron James, by the way.
No way. No way. Absolutely not. Nobody. Where's he going to go? L.A.? Come on.
It looks like L.A. or Philadelphia, Eric. Those are the two leading contenders.
L.A. and Philadelphia?
Yep.
No way.
Those look like the two. Those look like the two legitimate landing spots.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think LA's got that Ohio doesn't have?
Well, let's see. LA has the limelight. They have the glamour. They've got the
this is Title Town.
They've got they got the Playboy Mansion. If you want to go that far,
if you want to go that far, we got a couple of bars here. This is Title Town, baby.
Yeah, well, look at where Adrian Broner gets in trouble in bowling alleys in Ohio.
It's a very tough bowling alley, so.
And in parking lots.
They're very, very tough area, That's how it goes here.
Come on.
All right, well, let's get started. Let's get started with the fights, man. Enough about LeBron James and Titletown. ESPN. Gilberto Ramirez, Zerdo Ramirez versus Romer Alexis Angulo for the WBO Super Middleweight Championship. I tell you what, Ramirez outboxed Angulo over 12 rounds and won a unanimous decision by the scores of 119-109 twice and 120-108. And I don't think absolutely anyone cares. This was not a stellar performance by Ramirez. He's 38-0. All right. And I think it's time he stepped up his competition a little bit, man. I understand this guy was undefeated, but, listen, man, Beeb, Robert, and myself follow the sport just about as closely as you can follow it, And I've never heard of this guy. I've never seen him. He's 23-0. Robert, have you ever heard of this guy?
Nope. Never heard of him. And I've followed boxing since 1971. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of him, and which doesn't mean, listen, man, it doesn't mean he's not a good fighter. I mean, we've all seen people come out of obscurity, to come out and become really, really good fighters, people that we haven't heard of, and they've got an undefeated record. All of a sudden, they're out. I don't think Angulo was one of them, but I mean, he could have been, and that's not to say he was a lesser fighter, but I mean, on this day against Ramirez, he wasn't great. Let's put it that way. Now, after the fight, Bob Arum had stated that Ramirez will fight the biggest name possible for his next fight. Now, there's a lot of interpretation that can be done with that statement. When he says the biggest name available, the biggest name possible, the biggest name available, that's, I mean, come on, man. I mean, are you willing to go to the other side of the street and pick somebody up over there? I don't know. Beeb, give me your thoughts on this fight real quick, because it wasn't much to write home about. But then give me your thoughts on Ramirez and where should he go from here?
Well, we're in an unfortunate situation where Bob Arum has pretty much a good fighter in all of the popular divisions. But I stress the word A. He doesn't have the other top names. And that's the case in this situation at super middleweight. All the other great super middleweights are, you got all those guys there, Benavidez, you got George Groves. They're with other people. They're with other networks. Can a unification fight with George Groves happen? Possibly. Would it be easy to make a Benavidez fight? Not so much. But I think if you really want to showcase Ramirez, because Ramirez is definitely a very good fighter, a very well-rounded fighter, very skillful fighter. I like him a lot. But again, I think at this point, he's rising to the level of his opposition, which was the case last night. The Jesse Hart fight was incredible because he knew Jesse Hart was a great opponent and sort of a decent name, well known, and people that follow the sport know him. But as you said, Robbie was actually born in a boxing gym, so he knows everything about the sport, and he didn't even know who this guy was. And that's no disrespect to Angulo. I mean, that's really no disrespect. I think he fought a good fight, but he just did not, really put out a great output. It wasn't a really an active performance from him. He's very conservative in the amount of punches he threw, and it was very disappointing because he would land a good shot. He would buzz Ramirez every now and then with a right hand. He would get low, throw that little feint and come over the top with that looping right hand around the high guard of Ramirez. But, credit to Ramirez. He knows how to really reset himself. He knows that his game is on the outside, long, rangy fighter that he is. Got a beautiful straight left from the outside, beautiful jab. But he can scrap a little bit on the inside when he has to. But his game is on the outside, and whenever he, gets tagged with a good shot, he makes sure that he never puts himself in that same position again where he can get hit with 2 or 3. You may get one off on him, and you may buzz him with that one shot, but he never gives you the opportunity to follow up. And you got to give him credit for that because he's a very solid fighter. But at the end of the day, I think Bob Arum is squandering this kid's talent by not showcasing him against better fighters. I think, he could hold his own with anyone in this division. And I think he'd have a chance to beat anyone. I think him and Benavidez would be a beautiful fight. You'd have 2. I think Benavidez is Mexican as well, if I'm not mistaken. It's of Mexican descent. Correct me if I'm wrong. You'd have 2 Mexican action fighters. Both guys can punch. Both guys can box very well. Both guys are very athletic. That's a can't miss. Why would you not want to throw that together? And it'd be a unification fight. That would be a really big money fight for both guys. Bigger than what they've been making right now, I would assume. And I think that's a fair assessment. So why not try to put that one together? So moving forward, I'd like to see more opponents along the lines of a Jesse Hart or a Benavidez or George Groves. I'd like to see that. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I think eventually the fans are going to be calling for better matchups. And I know I am, and I know you are, and I know Robbie is. And I think that's the general consensus out there that he needs to step up his level of opposition.
Robert, what were your thoughts on Ramirez?
Well, while Beeb was talking, it just popped into my head. Jose Benavidez. Isn't Bob Arum his promoter?
Yes.
So,
he is. Oh, he is now, right?
Yeah.
So he's not with PBC anymore, right? He used to be with PBC.
I think he is. I thought he was.
Jose is not. Jose is not. But David.
He was before, yeah.
I'm thinking if Bob can represent Jose, then he's got an instant connection there to David, where that fight can easily be made. But let me talk about Gilberto. Beeb, I think you're absolutely right. I think he took this person lightly because he's probably like the rest of us who follow this sport. Here's a champion who probably never heard of this guy. I don't know if Ramirez is one of these kind of guys that looks at film of his opponents, but it looked like he was completely unprepared for what this guy had to offer. And it looked at times where he was just going through the motions. It was a very lackluster performance, and you could tell by the crowd. I mean, that Oklahoma City crowd, and frankly, not very many big events go to Oklahoma City. They were into the first fight that was on TV, but when it came to the main event, most of the time you heard they were very desolate. They were not into the fight. They were very unhappy. And I don't, look, this was his 4th defense of his title. When you're a champion, look, other than your mandatories, you've got to try and fight top-notch competition. And at 168, there are plenty of guys. There's David Benavidez, there's George Groves, there's James DeGale, Caleb Truex. If you want to go overseas, there's even Martin Murray if he fights at 168. There's a few German guys. I mean, there are tons. And isn't Chris Eubank Jr. in that? There's tons of people that you can match this guy up with. Bob Arum doesn't need to dig up somebody that we've never heard of so he can make a successful title defense. And I don't know whether Bob is getting too old or whether somebody else needs to think about running his promotion, but he's got 2 fighters here, Gilberto Ramirez and Terrence Crawford, that could make him lots of money if he matches them up with the correct people, regardless of promotion. Promoters need to start working together and putting these fights together. But last night, he won the fight, but frankly, it was an awful performance.
All right, just to correct here. Okay, so David Benavidez is the one that went. I guess he tried to leave, and then I guess he got money from Top Rank or something like that. It was one of those, right, Beeb? Am I hearing?
I believe he tried to get out of his contract with PBC,
and he couldn't.
He accepted money from Top Rank that he had to return, and this is according to I think Jason said this in the chat. I'm going to be honest with you. I actually did not research it. But,
I remember. Yeah, I remember this. But
I did hear about him going back to PBC. I wasn't sure if it was finalized yet.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's right because I remember reading it, but I couldn't remember which one.
This is one of the rare occasions where we could say Jason is right.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I did read this.
He had a contract with Samson Boxing, and I guess Samson Boxing works with PBC. Thank you, Jason, for clarifying that. Yeah, he has a contract with Samson Boxing. I guess Samson Boxing tried to block that Top Rank thing.
Yeah,
Top Rank had he had to return Top Rank for $250,000, as Jason said, and I believe Jason is right.
Yeah, and he had to give the money back too.
Yeah, he did.
You imagine giving $250,000 back? That's got to be a tough pill, man. I would like to see Ramirez fight the winner of the World Boxing Series, Boxing Series. I'd like to just see him fight, somebody with a heartbeat at this point. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying he's not a good fighter or anything, but you've had 38 fights.
Yeah.
It's time.
It is time.
It's time, man. So we'll see what happens. All right. On the undercard, Alex Saucedo versus Lenny Zapavigna, 10 rounds, junior welterweights. This could have been the fight of the year. Saucedo and Lenny Z went back and forth in a brutal fight, man. Lenny Z was dropped in the third round, but came back in the fourth round with a vengeance. It looked like he almost had Salido out in that round. Lenny Z's corner finally threw in the towel in the seventh round. Both men were cut during the fight, and Lenny Z's eye was completely shut. It was a mess. Both guys were busted up. After the fight, Lenny Z announced his retirement, and I tell you what, man, good for him. And what a fight to go out on, man. Both guys, real warriors. And this really was, this really, to me, was the fight of the year. This went back and forth. Robert, what were your thoughts on this?
Oh, yeah. Alex Saucedo is an up-and-comer. Probably not a lot of people know who he is. And here's another example of Top Rank putting somebody in their hometown. And their hometown come out and supported them. Oklahoma City should be proud of their son there, and he put on a hell of a show. And this by far, so far in 2018, is definitely the fight of the year. And good for Lenny Z for retiring. But wow, I was impressed. What a way to open up a show.
Yeah, it was good, man. And I know a lot of people were criticizing the fight because it was an all-out war where there wasn't a lot of defense and a lot of, but man, this is what people come to see. I don't, listen, man, I don't like seeing him busted up to that extent, because the fighter safety has to stay in play, and his corner did a great job stopping it. He really did. The corner did Lenny Z's corner did a great job of stopping that fight because he had enough and his eye was, pretty bad and, that kind of thing. But this was a great fight, man. If you didn't like this fight, then, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't, man. And, was it a, purist type fight like a Pernell Whitaker or Floyd Mayweather? No, it wasn't.
No.
But this is boxing, man. This was a style of fighting too, and this was good. I enjoyed it.
Now, Bob Arum said afterwards, Eric, that Saucedo is now the mandatory for Maurice Hooker. If he's going to fight Hooker, he's got to work on his defense. He does, and he showed a lot of holes in his game. I think defensively anyway, he had a lot of holes. But it's not like Lenny Z was a terrible fighter. Lenny Z was a pretty good fighter out there. It wasn't like he was a nobody out there. He's a very good fighter, a very strong fighter. Puts his punches together well. So you're going to get hit. But yeah, I would. Do you think he's ready for that fight, Saucedo? Yeah, because to be honest, I've never been really impressed with Maurice Hooker, but according to what I've heard, when he went over to the UK and actually won that title, which is very hard for somebody to go over to the UK and win a title. It's not easy to go over there, and especially if you're not from there, and walk out of there with a belt. But apparently, his last fight, he raised his game and looked much better.
Yeah.
But I think that fight's a good fight for him. Even if he loses, he's going to learn something from it. So I would say he's ready.
Yeah, I think that's a good fight, and I can't wait to see that, man. Especially after seeing this, I want to see him again. You know what I mean? So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. But okay. So in your opinion, that's fight of the year?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think it's fight of the year too. Yeah, I think it's fight of the year. You know what's funny is that's when most of the fight of the years happen. When you think about it, it's on the undercards. Two guys that aren't as popular as the main eventers. They're the undercards, and they're hungry. These guys want to fight. So yeah. So nobody lost in that fight. I'll tell you that. So all right, now I believe it was after that fight. It was still on the undercard here. And I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Robert, correct me if I'm wrong here, which I probably am. Robson Consacao? Is that how you?
I think that's as close as I'm going to get.
Robson Consacao versus Gavino Guaman, 6 rounds, junior lightweights. Consacao won a 3rd round TKO. He looked pretty good. Very tall for a junior lightweight. He looked very tall. Good jab. Kind of swings a little wild. Kind of swings a little bit wild for me.
A developmental kind of fight, but somebody that they could develop and continue moving forward. It wasn't horrible.
Strong, strong kid, man. Very strong kid. Yeah, but I agree with you. He's a project. He's a project, but he's got a lot of promise. A lot of promise. Put it that way. All right, more on the undercard. Robert, your boy, Mike Alvarado, Mile High Mike.
Mile High Mike. He ain't my boy.
Mike Alvarado versus Martin Angel Martinez. 10 rounds welterweights. Alvarado scored a 9th round TKO over Martinez. Just to let you know where Alvarado is now, Martinez's record was 17 wins and 15 losses. Go figure that one out.
My question is, Mike, why are you still fighting? Is your brain that far gone?
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one to wrap your head around. Where he was, and now he's fighting, tune-up fights with 17 and 15 guys, man. That's 17 wins and 15 lost guys. It's tough one to swallow.
Yeah.
Trey Lippe Morrison, Tommy Morrison's son, versus Byron Polly, the heavyweights. Morrison knocked out Polly in the 3rd round. Morrison is another one of those guys, man, that he started late. He started real late. Football, I think, was his first choice, and now he's into boxing. He's got a lot of good traits. You know what I mean? He's got the big left hand. He's got the knockout power. He's a big, stout guy like his father. But, it's going to be tough for him. It's going to be tough for him to make any real run. Yes.
Eric, I wonder how serious he is about boxing because he started so late. Is he doing this to honor his father and for no other reason? Because, he doesn't fight often enough. He seems to find reasons to get out of fights. As we can tell from personal experience, we tried to interview him on 2 occasions, and we could never connect with him. I just wonder how serious this guy is about a true boxing career. Is this just something he just does?
Why are you piling up?
To be fair, I mean, using this show as a barometer to gauge whether someone's serious about their boxing career, that's not fair.
No. But no, I'm talking about his inactivity also.
A lot of people that say no. They're doing fine. They're making millions.
I mean, we've had Floyd Mayweather. We've had Deontay Wilder on the show. We've had all the big names. So, I mean, if he's not, I'm just saying, we are kind of the barometer.
We're ready to close up shop and sell Beeb Industries because we can't get Trey Lippe on this show.
Oh, come on.
No offense.
Yeah,
Hey,
I wouldn't put.
Steve, you weren't on either one of those calls. So what can I tell you?
I was still affiliated with the brand.
You were still affiliated.
Please.
Yeah, I wouldn't exactly call this show a barometer of whether you're successful or not.
But no, am I all wet here, Eric? Come on, don't you get where I'm going? I'm not just talking about our show, but
no, I understand.
I get where you're going, Robbie. I get where you're going.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you a little bit of a jive,
Yeah, I think
all right, I got you.
With Morrison though, it's like I said, he's got and you asked a great question: is he doing this to honor his father, or is he doing this because he has the love of the sport? We'll never know.
Combination of both.
You know what I mean?
Only he
knows that. And he's not going to come out and say, I'm just doing this for my dad, or I'm doing this to carry on. You'll never know that answer. Only his immediate family know that answer. Right. Only he knows that answer.
Right.
I mean, but I agree with you. He doesn't fight as often as he should. If he's looking to develop, he needs to fight all the time, not just on Showtime. You need to find, or not, you need to be fighting on that Mike Tyson schedule, where he was having like 12 some fights every year, and trying to get, trying to develop. And they had him on just a rigorous schedule. I think it was over a fight a month. He was on average, I think he had 16 fights or something like that in maybe his first or second year. I mean, that's a crazy schedule. He was fighting once every couple of weeks. So that's what, if he wants to develop and he wants to really take a serious run at this, I think that's what he needs to do. He needs to stay active with busy fights. I mean, you don't have to like step up every time, but just get some work in there, but we'll see where he goes. All right, let's go across the pond. ESPN Plus, Michael Conlon versus Adelson dos Santos, 8 rounds featherweights. Michael Conlon won a unanimous decision over Adelson dos Santos, 79-73 on all scorecards in a pretty uneventful fight. So Michael Conlon, but you know what? I think it was a good thing for Conlon because he got some work in. He did what he was supposed to do. He won almost every round. He's still progressing, but he's got a spotlight on him. The good and the bad about coming out of the Olympics like that is that you got a big spotlight on you now. And
not only that, he got to fight at home too, which is good for him.
Yeah. Hey, and let me tell you what, he's got a lot of pressure on him anytime he steps in the ring, just because of who he is. You put him in Ireland now. Yeah. He's got a ton of pressure because of who he is. So that may have explained the performance or whatever, the lackluster kind of performance, but at the end of the day, he did what he was supposed to. In other action, Joe Smith Jr. beat Melvin Russell via first round KO. So Joe Smith gets back in the win column. And I'm
happy he's back from his broken jaw. I hope they put him in good fights. He's a good fighter.
Very good fighter.
There's a guy that nobody ever heard of that came out of nowhere and made a real splash with knocking out Fonfora and knocking out Hopkins and doing what he did. And now that's how you can make a name for yourself. Just come out of nowhere and do something nobody expects.
Hey, how many people heard of Frankie Randall before he beat Chavez?
That's true.
That's true, right? Livingstone Bramble before he beat Mancini. Nobody had really heard of him. He wasn't a big name.
That's right.
So, they come out. Julius Ndongo, nobody had heard of him before he knocked out TBE.
That's right.
So, there you go. Troy Yanofsky at the time. So, all right.
Yeah.
So, let's look ahead, Robert. July 6th. Is that a Thursday?
Friday.
Friday? All right.
That's Friday.
Robert is my savant. Robert's so great, man. I can give him any date. He is a savant, man. I can give him any date, and he can tell me what day it falls on. It's unbelievable.
Hey, I'm good. So I try,
That's it.
I got to get my stuff accurate here.
Friday, July 6th in Los Angeles on Robert's favorite station, Estrella TV. Oscar Negrete versus Dihul Olguin. I have no idea how you pronounce it. I know I butchered his name, and to him and his family, I do apologize. 8 rounds bantamweights. All right. Let's see what else. On July 7th from Fresno, California on ESPN, Jose Ramirez versus Danny O'Connor, 12 rounds for Ramirez's WBC junior welterweight title. Juan Carlos Abreu versus Kavaluskas.
Oh, the machine.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Machine.
And I just can't pronounce his name. His first name is Ejidus.
Yeah, it's
Kavaluskas, right?
Kavaluskas.
Kavaluskas, yes.
Kavaluskas.
Yeah. Easy for me to say. Andy Ruiz also on that undercard versus Kevin Johnson. Let's see what else here. That's it. That's it. Are you serious?
And there's another example, Eric, of Top Rank putting somebody in their hometown. Whenever Ramirez fights in Fresno, that basketball arena always fills up. 15,000 people. There's never an empty seat in the house.
I can't believe that's all the fights there are. That's it. That depresses me. Beeb, are you depressed?
Yeah.
Gonna cry.
Yeah. What is this?
Not fair.
What's going on this summer? Hey, in 2 weeks, guess what we get to look forward to, huh? Manny Pacquiao versus Lucas Matisse. Hopefully that fight.
Barn burner. Legacy fight.
I don't know if that's going to go off, Eric.
It'll go off, man. It'll go off. Why wouldn't it go off? Something about money?
Well, didn't you say?
Let's see what Uncle Eddie gives us with that DAZN app.
What did you say, Robert? Let's see what?
Didn't you say a couple of weeks ago that they hadn't come through with the money?
Robert, I say a lot of stuff. You can't trust me on anything I say. I say a lot of stuff.
Oh, come on. You're the host of the show, man.
All right. That's the exciting schedule we got coming up next week. Yeah, about that. All right.
Go
ahead.
Before we go to the phones or anything else, isn't Danny O'Connor, I've heard the name, isn't he the one that has fought on PBC before?
I think so. Jason will know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
From Massachusetts, baby.
It is.
You know who Danny O'Connor is? He's from Big MA. Beantown, Daddy.
Yeah. There you go.
Are you going to go to Fresno and be in his corner there, Beeb?
Well, you never know. If the cash is there, Beeb could fly.
Okay. All right.
He has a price. He's like the $1 Million Man, baby.
Okay. All right.
That's right. We were coming out of the soccer game, and we stopped at a restaurant last night, and we saw the TV, and it made me think of you, Beeb, because I looked up there, and I guess the Red Sox were playing. They were playing somebody. Wow. I don't know who they were playing. They were winning.
The Yankees.
They were playing the Yankees. Oh wow! It was like 10-0, and I was like, my God, I wonder if Beeb's watching this.
Hey, we have a good sports.
11-0 last night. It was a blowout.
We have a good sports town here, man, in Boston, Massachusetts.
There it is. It's not quite title town, but it's close.
Well,
now, wait a minute. Boston has a hell of a lot more titles than Cincinnati, Eric.
I don't believe they do. This is title town, baby.
Let's see. The Celtics have 17 world championships, or 18, excuse me. The Patriots have 5 or 6 Super Bowl championships, and the Red Sox have won 3 World Series recently. Boston has a lot more than Cincinnati.
Then we got Rocky Marciano. We got Marvin Hagler.
Didn't we beat
the
Red Sox in the World Series? Didn't the Big Red Machine beat them in the World Series?
In 1975, Eric.
That's a fluke. That's a fluke. Things happen every now and then.
Things happen. I think it was a sweep, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it? Well, if it wasn't, it should have been.
No, it went 7 games, Eric. It went 7 games.
We still won 4 of them, which qualifies it as a sweep.
A lot of bad umpire calls in that series too that go unmentioned.
Which is why you guys won 3 games. I'm just saying.
Carlton Fisk wrapping it around the foul pole. I mean, come on, in the 12th inning. One of the classic games of all time, baby.
All right. News and rumors. Beeb, it's time.
Brianna, you ready for the train wreck? Let's get in here. This is a good one. All right, you don't have to be on camera because you're not dressed appropriately. Go ahead.
Chugga, 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 choo-choo.
My girl.
Nice.
My girl.
Nice. So much better than when Beeb does it. I'll tell you that. Just so much better.
I agree.
Now go on with the show. It was so much better. If Beeb would have done it, we would have just ended the show. Unreal. All right, train wreck of the week. The Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder fallout. Why don't you explain this to me, man? The Joshua Wilder fight is now officially dead. Robert, it's dead. Matchroom announced this week that Joshua will be facing Alexander Povetkin next. Both sides are blaming each other, and the bottom line is these guys had about $50 million on the line. Neither camp found a way to figure this out. In my opinion, you can't blame Joshua for this. You can't blame Wilder for this. You can blame both camps. You can blame the promoters. You can blame the managers in Wilder's case. I mean, it's just ridiculous because I think that if you turn both fighters loose tomorrow, they would fight each other. I don't think either fighter is scared of the other one. I think they would both fight each other. It's just unreal. I don't think either side wants this fight. Maybe they want the fight to simmer. I don't know. Eddie Hearn came out and gave a bunch of reasons why. Deontay Wilder came out and slammed everybody on Twitter with a expletive-laden letter. Eddie Hearn has now offered Wilder a 2-fight, $20 million deal, one fight for $5 million, and then the Joshua fight for $15 million. The one for $5 million, he said he could fight anybody, and then he fights Joshua next. I mean, you know, and I'm hearing all these things about the rematch clause. I mean, Eddie Hearn sent him a contract. It's true. Eddie Hearn sent him a contract. Wilder did not sign it. And the date and the venue, I know, weren't on that. I don't think that was too much of a deal because they did confirm that he was going to be next for Joshua, from what I'm understanding. This is from what I'm understanding now. But I think the bigger deal was there was a rematch clause in there, whereas only if Joshua won, there would be a rematch. But if Wilder lost, there would be no rematch. Or if Joshua lost, rather, there would be a rematch. But if Wilder lost, there's no rematch. There was a lot of like shady type of stuff in there. You know, I'm going to turn this over to Beeb. Beeb has made a couple of really good videos about it this week, and he's going to talk more about it. So, Beeb, take it away.
First of all, let's look at the facts here. Deontay Wilder was sent a contract over. Why? Because he accepted the offer. Was he sent the contract over before he accepted the offer? No, he was not. So that's basically how it was done, and Hearn proved that was the protocol in the sport of boxing. So for all of the people out there that are saying, well, why does Joshua have to accept an offer before getting a contract? Because that's how it's done. No one ever gets a contract before they accept the offer. Another question. Since Wilder did accept the offer and he did not sign the contract, is he now legally bound to still fight Anthony Joshua? Like Eddie Hearn was saying, well, if we accept the offer, then that means we're legally bound to a verbal contract that we have to fight Deontay Wilder. We don't want to commit ourselves to anything. No, you commit yourself by signing the contract. Okay, it's customary that a term sheet gets sent over first, and then the contract, which has more specific details in it, that's the one that you go over and sign. And a contract for this fight of this magnitude is not made in 3 hours. It takes a couple of days to dot your I's and cross your T's and make sure the contract is put together properly. So again, you could blame both sides, but at least one side is being consistent and one side is holding firm to their position. Whereas the other side, Eddie Hearn and Team Joshua, they're making things up. Another misconception out there is Eddie Hearn was trying to lead the public to believe that in order to file for an exemption of a rule of a sanctioning body, in this particular case, which was a mandatory title defense that he would have to file an exception for, he was telling people that he had to have signed contracts to bring to the sanctioning body in order for them to grant an exception. That's not true. Why did WBC grant Deontay Wilder an exception? His mandatory is due. Brazil, the rule states that you have to fight your mandatory once a year. He fought Stavern last year, I believe in November, if I'm not mistaken. And if this fight was to come off, he would not be able to fight his mandatory in November. So Mauricio Sulaiman, already granted the exception to Deontay Wilder, and also he granted the exception to Golovkin before that Canelo Alvarez fight was signed. Okay, he said, we will strip you if you do not fight Canelo Alvarez, or if you decide to not fight him, you have to fight Charlo next. And that was even before the contracts were signed. So that's the problem. Eddie Hearn is putting out misconceptions. He's preying on the naivete of the public and the ignorance of the public, and they're parroting these things when they're totally false. So Team Wilder's not making false statements or false claims, or not making up rules that aren't even in existence. So that's that. That is a blow to Team Hearn and Team Joshua. It's a blow to their credibility when they have to stop making up rules. So everyone's criticizing Deontay Wilder. Just sign. But when we were saying on the Joshua side, just accept the offer. Oh, well, Anthony Joshua was not going to sign his life away. He turned down the greatest offer in heavyweight history. And then Deontay Wilder turned down arguably one of the shittiest deals in heavyweight history based on his position. Because if a fight goes to purse bids and you're the mandatory challenger, you get 30%. Okay? According to David Higgins, who is Joseph Parker's promoter, he initially asked for 40%. Then he went down to 35%. And then both Hearn and himself confirmed that he got somewhere in the middle of 30 and 35, roughly 33%. So most people can agree that Deontay Wilder is the second best heavyweight in the world, or even if you don't want to concede that point, you can concede that he's the second biggest name in the heavyweight division. Okay? So why would the second biggest name or the second best heavyweight, and Hearn uttered that out of his mouth, that Deontay Wilder is the second best heavyweight, why would he get less than the third best? In what world is that normal? In what world would a champion in a unification bout get less than a mandatory challenger would get if a fight went to purse bids, which this Povetkin fight could very well go to purse bids? So why would people who are thought to be not on Deontay Wilder's level in terms of popularity and in terms of skill be offered better deals than Deontay Wilder? It just doesn't make sense. And also, if Team Joshua was so hell-bent on having this fight next, then why did they already send a contract over to Alexander Povetkin with the date, with the venue already set? And why could they say that they could fight Povetkin in September and they couldn't fight Wilder in September? And why did they say, oh, well, we had to change that situation because Canelo Alvarez is fighting on September 15th. We don't want to put the Wilder fight on the same day. Well, doesn't Canelo Alvarez always fight on or around September 15th every year in the biggest pay-per-view of the year? Isn't that always the case? And even if the Golovkin fight fell through, you don't think that they would still put on a high-profile pay-per-view? Or we're just waiting to see if the Golovkin fight was going to get confirmed? Most of us knew that Golovkin fight was going to happen. It was just too much money to not happen. So this is the problem. Eddie Hearn is just telling out, flat-out lies, putting forth misconceptions, saying things that don't make sense, contradicting himself at every turn, and it's just hard to take that side seriously. So now you already have a fight lined up with the date and the venue for April 13th, and you're not going to budge on that $15 million. That's fine, whatever. So if you were so serious about having Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua fight next, why wouldn't you at least have a date and a venue, or at least a timeline there, or some type of deadline, or at least have some dates proposed, at least have some venues proposed? And you didn't even file for an exception with the WBA. So you were just basically stringing the WBA along. And here's another thing on a sidebar. People don't realize this, that Ryabinski has a very good relationship with the WBA. Why do you think why do you think Povetkin's ranked as the number one contender even after the two failed drug tests? Why is that so? You don't think you can't make that connection? So there's a lot of behind the scenes bullshit going on here. And even if you don't think Deontay Wilder is worth more than 30%, okay, if that's your stance, that's fine. Even if you don't think Deontay Wilder is the second best heavyweight in the world, that's your stance, that's fine. You can roll with that. But let me ask you this. When ever has number 1, 2, and the number one and number 2 fighter in the division in a unification fight in the heavyweight division or in any other division, when have they ever accepted a flat fee? Ever? Tell me, when has that ever occurred? What's going on right now is unprecedented. Okay, this guy Anthony Joshua turned down the greatest deal ever in this division, ever, and he's supposed to not get criticized at all for that. Then Deontay Wilder, a champion who's been a champion for 3 years with over 40 fights, whatever, okay? And he's going into the biggest fight in boxing, arguably, and the biggest fight definitely in the heavyweight division, and he's being offered a flat fee. When has that ever happened before? Tell me when. Tell me when.
But didn't he accept the terms, though? I mean, didn't he accept the terms and he said, yeah, just send me the contract. I'll take this. You know, why didn't he sign it?
I believe because of the rematch clause, and also what's not being said is, I also heard, and he also said this, even if he won, he would still get the short end of the stick in a rematch with Anthony Joshua. So Eddie Hearn was telling us all along, okay, we'll have the first fight in the UK and the second fight in the United States. He never said, oh, we'll have the second fight in the United States only if Deontay Wilder wins. He never said that. He was leading everyone to believe that there was going to be 2 fights. So that's the big thing. So if you're going to give him a flat fee, at least give him a rematch clause. Give him something. He is the A side. Okay. But you also have to respect the position that Deontay Wilder holds as being the number 2 guy in the division. You can't treat him worse than you treat the number 3 or number 4 guy. Okay? You can't treat him worse than a mandatory challenger would be treated. So he did accept the offer. But again, when the contract comes over, it entails more specific details. The offer is a vague piece of paper. It's a term sheet. It's not as extensive as a contract would be.
Right.
So to just sit there and say, oh, accept the offer. So you guys were so reluctant and resistant to have Anthony Joshua accept an offer without getting a contract first. But now you're rushing Deontay Wilder to sign a deal that really is not a fair deal. And if you were a manager and his manager, no manager in their right mind would agree to that contract.
No.
Eddie Hearn is sent over a contract that he knew was not going to be agreed. Is that a fair assessment?
I think it is. Yeah. I think that it's kind of like when Wilder offered the $50 million deal. Joshua said, or I think Eddie Hearn came out and said, it's really kind of a brilliant move because even if he doesn't have the money, he's already made the offer, whether he has it or not. We're not going to accept it because we don't think he has the money or whatever the case may be. Here, he's actually sent him, the quote unquote contract, and Wilder, it says all you have to do is sign it. And Wilder, has agreed to everything and didn't sign it, didn't send it back. He said, yeah, I'll do it for $15 million. I'll do it for this, do it for that. Didn't send it back. So now he kind of looks bad because he didn't sign it and send it back. But again, I think that all sides are to blame here. I don't think it's just one or the other.
You're 100% right, because the one thing that is a head scratcher is why were they going to wait till Friday to send it back? But if that was the case, then why didn't Hearn say, well, we need it back sooner than Friday?
You could blame Wilder's side for not meeting with him. The one, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They didn't meet with him. They didn't. I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around here. So anybody saying, well, this is Wilder's fault or this is Joshua's fault, it's both sides guilty. I mean, both sides. I don't think either side, except for the fighters. I don't think the fighters are afraid of anybody. I mean, you think about this for a minute. You're talking about the baddest guys in the world. You know, they're both over 200 pounds and they can both hurt you with one hand, you know. So these guys aren't afraid. You know what I mean? These guys aren't afraid, but their camps are looking to cash in on this. So, you know, I think they're looking to make the fight simmer because everything that's been offered has been, you know, has been kind of nonsense, especially offered by, you know, Eddie Hearn with that. I mean, they're just undercutting him so bad. And he wants this fight so bad that he said, okay, let's do it. Wilder did. And, you know, and they still did the same stuff. And as his manager, you know, those guys got to look out for you, you know, so.
Anyone out there, just let's subtract the fighters and let's just look at the situation. If you were a manager of Deontay, if you were a manager, not even Deontay Wilder, if you were a manager of a fighter that was put in Deontay Wilder's position, would you advise him to sign that contract? Honestly, I couldn't in good faith.
Listen, if it was against Prince Charles Martin, yes.
Yeah.
If it was against Anthony Joshua, where it's a 50-50 fight going in there, no, you don't take those gambles. You're not supposed to take those gambles.
Do you realize, again, he accepted the flat fee. But the reason why he accepted the flat fee was because he was confident that he would win. And in the rematch, he would be getting 50-50. From what he has said in his interview, he was saying they're gonna offer him shit money in the rematch, even if he wins. That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
What was the split on this? They gave him 15 million. What was the split? Was it 70-30?
At the very worst, excuse me. At the very best, it's 70-30. That's it.
75-25 when it goes to purse bid, right?
No, it's 70-30 when it goes to purse bid.
I thought it was 75-25.
Oh, 70-30.
Okay.
Yeah, 70-30. 70-30 when it goes to purse bids. That's why I'm saying, like, so a mandatory check, he's getting the same deal, or maybe even a worse deal, because Parker got 33%, and we don't even know if that was back-end money or not. We don't even know if he got back-end money on that deal. Why is Parker getting a better deal than Wilder? Why? It makes no sense.
No, it really doesn't.
And then okay, well, just beat him then, and then you'll be the A side in the rematch. No, they wouldn't even give him that. So he wins. He gets a shit deal in the rematch too.
You know, and I understand that wins or losses don't make it an A side or a B side. I mean, they really don't. I mean, look at Canelo. You know,
it doesn't matter if this guy, Larry Merchant, is like, oh, he wouldn't be the A side even in the rematch.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he though? Why wouldn't he? If you knock somebody off their position, you take their position. In all reality, he may not be the bigger name, but in terms of stature and accomplishment by beating Joshua, he should get a 50-50 or a 50-50 deal if he wins.
I disagree.
Or at least a 60-40.
60-40, yeah. But I tell you, I disagree with that because look at Jeff Horn. Look at Jeff Horn and Terrence Crawford. You know that Terrence Crawford was the A side in that fight. Terrence Crawford was really the A side in that fight.
Correct.
Well, look at Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn arguably he beat Manny Pacquiao, but arguably the biggest name on either one of their resumes.
Okay, but if Jeff Horn had a rematch clause and he won and he was going into a second fight with Terrence Crawford, shouldn't he get a better deal than he got the first time around? Why should he get the identical deal? They're giving him practically the same identical deal, even if he wins in a rematch.
Yeah. I'm not defending the whole rematch clause with this whole thing because I think it's a bad move. I mean, you know, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily say that Joshua doesn't deserve more in a rematch, but I think it should be closer anyway. At the very least, should be closer than why. You know what I mean? Because Wilder, again, he's not a big name. He's not.
But if he wins,
he's a big name to us.
If he wins, all that changes. If he wins,
maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. I mean, look at Joshua's a huge name over in England. You know, Joshua's a huge name over there. He can pack him in. Wilder can't do the same thing here. Okay, and that's what we're looking at. So, I mean, Joshua is a clear A side in either fight, Now, if Wilder wins, then he has a chance to go on and make a name for himself, but it's not going to be an overnight thing.
Even if you hate Wilder, all right, even if you think he's not a draw, because people are in the chat saying he's not a draw, can we argue that he's still a bigger draw than Joseph Parker? Is that a fair? I mean, is he?
Yeah, and the only reason
he a bigger name and a bigger draw than Joseph Parker?
The only
so
reason
why would he get a worse deal?
Was a bigger draw is because he fought Joshua. That's it.
Yeah. So why should Wilder get a worse deal than Parker got? If you guys have to really look at this now. Come on, let's put all of the bias aside. Let's be objective now. They're fucking Deontay Wilder. They're disrespecting him. They're not giving him the respect that a fighter in his position should get.
Absolutely.
They're not.
I don't think there's any question about that. The fact that he offered you $50 million and you offered him $15 million, that's not, I was more surprised that he took that. I'm surprised that, because they'll go back to the Floyd Mayweather when he fought Pacquiao, when he was trying to get Pacquiao to fight. Well, we're giving him X amount of millions. That's more than he's ever made in his career. Why would he worry about anything else? Or was the Canelo Triple G was doing that? Canelo, we're giving him more money than he ever got in his whole career. Why wouldn't he take that?
And I wouldn't be surprised if Povetkin got a better deal than Wilder's getting right now either. With his positioning, with having a world of boxing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And, there's an old saying: the quickest way to kill a fight is to price yourself out of a fight. But there's also another quick way to kill a fight. Under offer somebody too, okay? Underprice somebody. You can easily underprice somebody in order to get out of a fight too.
Right.
It works both ways. And if no one can see that that's what's happening here, it's about principle too. Like they're literally treating Deontay Wilder like he's nothing.
Yeah.
They really are. They're shitting all over Deontay Wilder, and he's just supposed to sit there and accept it. He's there's an A side and a B side, and this A side B side shit never came into existence before the Floyd Mayweather era. This is Floyd Mayweather's fault. Because when Leonard fought Hagler, there was no A side B side. When Hearns fought Hagler, there was no A side B side. When Spinks fought Tyson, there was no. You never heard anyone say, "Hey, A side B." None of this shit happened until Floyd Mayweather put this forward. So if this is what's going to happen moving forward, if this is what it's all about. No one asked who was the A side and B side when Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman over in Zaire. No one asked what the percentages were. No one cared about how many people were in the stadium. No one asked those things. So if this is what it's going to be now, then it's going to be this. And then make sure that you guys are consistent in your values moving forward when it comes to other fights. When people were calling Cotto a diva when he didn't want to fight Canelo, when people were calling Floyd a diva when he didn't want to fight Pacquiao, people were calling Canelo a diva when he didn't want to fight Golovkin. Make sure that it's across the board now. Make sure it's across the board now.
Right.
Let's not only apply this to your favorite fighter, apply it to everyone now. Be consistent. No one's denying that Anthony Joshua is not the A side. But Deontay Wilder is not the Z side. He's the B side. He's being treated like the Z side, like bottom of the barrel.
Now, just a quick question here before we go to the phones. I know you guys have been waiting, everybody on the phones, you've been waiting for a little bit. So just give me a second, then we'll go right to you here. You had mentioned that the fight for Povetkin is going to be set up in September. Eddie Hearn has been negotiating that fight and everything like that. Eddie Hearn brought up a good point in his interview. He said that, well, of course we've been negotiating with Povetkin. He said, because we're not 100% sure the Wilder deal comes through. And if it doesn't, we have to have a fallback. And they should be negotiating too. They should be negotiating with Brazil or whoever else in case this thing falls through. They have a plan B. That sounds pretty logical to me.
But it also sounds like someone who's giving themselves an escape route. So
sure.
when you're at, was Manny Pacquiao, when Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao were negotiating, right? When the offers were proposed and they were pretty much accepted, when they were ironing out the details, did they have contracts sent out to other fighters in case their fight fell through? I mean,
I don't know.
Gave a guy. Why would you give an opponent a contract with the date and venue on it?
Billy
and
Joe
give
Saunders.
another guy and then give a fighter another contract with a date and venue on it, right?
That just happened with Billy Joe Saunders and Triple G.
But did Billy Joe Saunders' contract was that completed? Was that more far gone along completed than the Golovkin was? So when you look at it, why was Povetkin's contract pretty much sealed up? All that was left was a signature, and why did Wilder's contract have so many ambiguities on it? See what I'm saying? That's the thing. Like,
listen, it was
the backup plan, but his contract wasn't drawn up with a date and venue on it like Povetkin's was. So that's the thing. Like you brought up a great point. Wilder didn't even negotiate with Brazil. He didn't even have a backup plan in place because he prioritized this. The only time you have a backup plan is if you don't prioritize it. Like even if the fight falls through, you could still put together the Povetkin fight. Just like when the Klitschko fight fell through, and then they went, were negotiating with Pulev, right? And Pulev pulled out. They still fought Takum. So it's like you don't have to go to these lengths. You don't have to go to these lengths to ensure that you have a backup plan. You don't have to have a contract drawn up with another fighter. You could still be negotiating and talking with another fighter. They had a contract that was further along completed, more so than the Wilder contract. So it looks to me like that was more of a priority than the Wilder contract was. Is that a fair assessment?
I don't know.
If that contract was more completed and it had more, and that contract had more specifics in it.
I think it depends. It depends. Robert, go ahead and weigh in real quick, and then
Robert.
phones.
Yeah, I don't want to keep people waiting, but me and Babe talked about this earlier this week. It seems kind of fishy to me the way this whole thing played out. And Eric, I know you don't want to blame both sides, or you don't want to lay blame on a specific side, but I will be more than happy to do so. I put this at the feet of Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua. They, for whatever reason, didn't really want this fight. And I honestly don't know why. Because, granted, we all have questions about Povetkin. I mean, since he failed, 2 or 3 different drug tests and he's been suspended and his competition hasn't been great. But, frankly, he's been a dangerous heavyweight throughout his career. And if Anthony Joshua thinks he's going to walk into a ring in September and easily dispose of this guy, he has another thing coming. I'm really disappointed in both Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua because their tactics that they've used throughout this whole negotiating ploy, it's despicable. I have, as I said earlier, I've been following boxing since 1971, and I have never seen anything so despicable. I mean, yeah, the Mayweather-Pacquiao thing, it took 5 years to do because of various things that went on. But I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. And Deontay Wilder is being treated like a piece of garbage, and he's the WBC heavyweight champion and has been for 3 years. Now we can question his opponents, we can question who he's fought, but you can also do that with Anthony Joshua. You take away Klitschko, and his resume doesn't look wonderful.
Come on, son.
Because let's face it, Wilder is going to dispose of Brazil if that ever happens.
Maybe.
But Anthony Joshua may not dispose of Povetkin so easily. I mean, this whole thing, it just stinks to high heaven. Let's go to the phones.
How can you, before we do that, how can you question Anthony Joshua's resume? He's got Klitschko, he's got Takam, he's got Parker, he's got, he beat Molina, who Wilder beat Brazil, beat Charles Martin, Dillian White. I mean, come on, man. You can't tell me that Wilder has a better resume than that.
I think their resumes. I think their resumes are very.
Wilder has a better.
I think their resumes are very similar.
Klitschko.
I honestly do.
What's that?
I mean, I think their resumes are similar. No. But I will give Joshua credit because he's fought the same fighters in a shorter period of time. But if you look at the names, they're very similar. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you, and this is my honest to God opinion. I would pick Luis Ortiz over Vladimir Klitschko at the stage that Klitschko was at when he fought Joshua. I'm being honest, because you know what that reminds me of? The South African guy that reminds me of Corey Sanders all over again.
Yeah,
Corey Sanders. Yep.
That's a excuse my language. That is a fucking horrible style matchup of Vladimir Klitschko. People don't realize how good of a fighter Luis Ortiz was. Dillian White won't fight him. Okay,
very good fighter.
And Povetkin didn't want to fight him either. Luis Ortiz is dangerous because he can punch and he can box too. You could say he's friggin' 38, 42, or 45. It doesn't fucking matter. How old is Klitschko?
He's old. He's
old too.
Let's go ahead and go to the phones here. 760. You're live.
Hey, Brian, what's up?
What's happening, fellas?
What's up?
Man, you guys was on a good topic. I was sitting there listening to you. I'm glad I could hear B today. He's telling it like it is. He do. And Rob, man, I like what Rob's saying too, man. Look, Eric, man, because if we sit here, look, man, because if we sit here and we just try to justify it, right, then the big fight's not going to happen. Because let's rewind, okay? And remember when Wilder wanted to get in the ring? Remember that? He wanted to get in the ring.
Uh-huh.
And Anthony Joshua said no. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He said no. Okay, so that right there told you. And then remember, Jason got on here. You guys was all over his helmet, you know, because he was sitting there letting you guys know that this was going to happen. Because I seen it too. I said, okay, maybe it might not happen. But it's looking like this is going to happen between him and Povetkin. And that's what happened, you know. But you got to rewind it to where he didn't even want him to get in the ring. But that dude is a wimp. That's not how we do it in the West. Huh, Rob? That's not how we do it on the West.
Nope.
It's the West. We don't do it like that. That's not
and you never see any other heavyweight champion pull this garbage where, well, no, I'm only going to fight in a certain location. Heavyweight champions fight anywhere that the fight is offered. I mean, Muhammad Ali traveled all over. Lennox Lewis traveled all over. Mike Tyson went to Japan and got embarrassed. I mean, Anthony Joshua needs to learn to travel away from home.
Right. Cause this dude, I want to fight in my country. I want to fight in this. I'm gonna pay you this. I mean, if you don't see what's going on, like you gotta be blind. You Stevie Wonder. You know what I mean? You know, I got respect for Stevie Wonder. But dang, come on, man. It's right there in our face. When he didn't let him in the ring, that let you know I'm not fighting him next. You know what I'm saying? And then they was like, it seemed like they trying to beg him to fight. Like, man, what do it take, man? What do it take, man? You know what I'm saying? But if you want to know who to blame, this is what to blame. This whole A-side shit. Excuse my language. I'm sick of hearing this whole A-side stuff because that's what to blame, okay? I mean, so what if a person is popular? Because see, what B was talking about was when they didn't have no internet and they didn't have no YouTubes and all this other different stuff, and they was making fights happen. Good fights happen. Now you got all this stuff that got something to do with, it got nothing to do with boxing to make a good fight. You see what I'm saying? And now we all stuck with this whole A side because this dude, he don't never have to fight Wilder if he don't want to, because why? We're going to justify him being the A side. We're going to talk about how good his resume is, how he's a gold champion, gold medalist, you know, and the fight could never happen, you know. That's why I'm like, man, if we keep on sitting here just trying to justify this and justify that, the big fight is not going to happen. But if we call it for what it is, at least, because me, I'm a fight fan. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just a fighter, man. I like to see fights, you know, but I watch fights back in like the 90s, maybe some of the early 2000s. And then it's like boxing took a nap, went to sleep, was bored. You know what I'm saying? We trying to get out of that. And these two guys can do it. And then the thing with Anthony Joshua, everybody keeps saying this is the most money Wilder will make. It's the most Joshua will make too. You know what I'm saying? This is the most money both of these guys can make. This is the finest fight for both of these guys. So why is he getting ready to fight Povetkin? You know what I'm saying?
Can we argue? Let me ask you this: Would you be willing to say that Povetkin is a dangerous fight for him also?
Oh man, I was getting ready to talk about that. No, look,
he's not a dangerous fight. Okay,
that dude is trash. He is trash, and let me tell you why. Because all you got to do, if somebody is gonna train him and tell him what to do, it's easy. Go out there and put some jabs up in his face, because he's a hooker. He's only effective when he's throwing them hooks and he's trying to get in, but he got a short reach. All you got to do is use straights on him all day. And Anthony Joshua is going to catch him enough to where they'll stop it or he'll end him. He ain't even close. This is a
bad fight for Joshua. Bad fight.
Yeah, I happen to think it could be a tough fight for Joshua.
Joshua don't fight on the outside. He's a mid-range guy.
Right, and my thing is, if he's scared of Wilder, then why is he
throw a jab?
Doesn't make sense.
Wilder matches up way better with Povetkin than Joshua does, because Wilder fights at long range. Yeah. Joshua does not. Joshua throws those short hooks and those 45s. Go back and watch that Takam fight. Tried to fight Takam on the inside. And the thing is this: when Vlad fought Povetkin, a prime Vlad, this was a Vlad that kept that jab going in your face. Joshua gets hit with so many right hands because he doesn't throw a consistent jab, and a lot of times he throws his jab, he leaves it out there. It's style-wise, it's a bad fight for him because he's not the same fighter as Wilder, and he's not the same fighter as Klitschko. I think Wilder would have an easier time with Povetkin than Joshua would. Styles make fights. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Brian.
Building Joshua up, and that's what they want him to learn. Is they want him to learn how to use that jab more consistent, and to where he's not just throwing it, but he's doubling up on it, just using it better. Because it seemed like the last fight when he fought Parker, that's what he was trying to focus on, becoming more of a boxer, using his jab, and that's what he's gonna do right here. He's not gonna engage in all that stuff that Povetkin be throwing. He's just gonna keep it simple, keep that 1-2, keep them jabs, keep that 1-2, and Povetkin is gonna fall. That dude, I'm telling you, he's easy work as long as you got a good reach to put a jab in his face. Even if it starts to make him leak, you can make him. He'll bust him up with the jab. Joshua got an effective jab. You can't lie about that. It is.
Doesn't use it enough though.
Get lazy with it.
Exactly. That's a big problem.
But that's what he's gonna have to learn how to do on this one. That's why I understand where you guys are coming from, where it can be dangerous. That's if he engages like that. But if he go out there and he uses his jab and he don't hook with the hooker, trust me, it's gonna be easy work all day. He might even could take it 12 rounds just putting a jab in his face all day, because that dude, he's short, and he hooks a lot, and you can just stay at range with him with a jab. That's what they're gonna do. That's what they want him to do, is learn to use his jab better. So that's what he's gonna use. Joshua's gonna have
the problem, Brian, is he's got 3 heavyweight belts. This is no longer the developmental stage. So even if you want him to work on stuff, you can't have him working on stuff in fights. You're going to have him work on stuff in the gym, because when it comes to the actual fight, I think Povetkin has way more experience than he does, and he's going to make it difficult for Joshua, because Joshua does not fight on the end. He doesn't fight from the outside. He fights. He's got to stay close to his opponents. He's never effective outside.
And here's another thing that was
tough. It's going to be tough if it gets to certain spots for Povetkin. It'll work in his favor if it happens in spots like that. But if Anthony Joshua uses his overall you know, with his everything he's good at, with his jab, his reach, his strength, and you know, he'll get him out of there early. But I'll tell you like this, man, because we talked about, or you was talking about Ortiz too. Povetkin is not dangerous as Ortiz. Nobody, I don't think no other heavyweight is dangerous as Ortiz. You guys agree with me? Why this guy ain't getting a fight? I want to
because nobody wants to fight him. He is dangerous.
They scared. They scared. He got him shook. I don't understand why we ain't even thinking about Ortiz. Why not fight this dude? Why did he? Because remember, Anthony Joshua ducked him too. Isn't that what happened?
I believe so.
I don't know if they ever had. I don't know if they ever were negotiating a fight or not. I can't remember that about Ortiz.
Ortiz didn't want to wait around. He took the other fight.
Because I thought they was gonna fight. Because I was kind of high on Ortiz back in the day, and Eddie Hearn signed him, but they never fought. I was like, dang man, I wanted to see that, and it never happened. I guess this is just gonna happen with Wilder, you know.
There you go.
But yeah, man, I just had to get that off my chest, man. I'm glad you guys listened.
Hey, good call,
absolutely,
Brian.
man. Good call as usual. We appreciate it, man.
All right. Take it easy.
All right, man. You too. All right. It's now come time. Maybe.
He's a fucking mental case is what he is.
Oh, Robert. Why do you do that all the time?
Those guys, LeBron just signed a 4-year deal with the Lakers.
Says who?
Eric.
Says who?
I told you.
Says who?
How much did he?
I just got the alert on my phone. He's right, Eric.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did.
All right.
See, I'm always ahead of the curve. You fucking pussies don't know shit without me.
You're a retard.
We're doing a show and you're sitting there
Always
messing around on your phone.
Always talking shit about me behind my back, but I'm the one who always breaks the news on this fucking show. You lazy bastard.
He breaks news.
Roving reporter. Jason Shaw.
A roving guy in Atlanta.
Jason Shaw.
I just told Eric 2 minutes ago, and he called me a retard. He said, you're a retard. And I just told him 2 minutes ago. He never believes me. He's such an asshole.
You're full of misinformation and fake news. How can I believe you?
All right, so one out of every 10 stories you say is right, but the other 10 is still
I
wrong.
believe Jason on LeBron.
I'm the one who told you David Benavidez went back to PBC and Samson also, idiot. Just you need to write down a fucking list. List is getting longer by the day.
$154 million, 4-year deal. Wow.
All right. Way to go,
man.
LA.
That's a lot of money.
Goodbye, Cleveland.
Titletown wouldn't have paid that much for him. I tell you that.
Next is Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard's uncle is friends with Magic Johnson. That's the inside scoop too. So that's about to happen soon too. So just wait for that. His uncle is a new agent. Hey, what do you guys think about the Povetkin? I mean, how come nobody's talking about Povetkin's age, Beeb? I mean, he's the same age as Ortiz. I remember
he's 38.
Talking about Ortiz's age because Wilder was fighting him, but how come we're not talking about Povetkin's age? He's the same age, pretty much, 38, 39.
You know, I think it's a dangerous fight for him. I don't think it's as dangerous as Wilder. I think that he should be.
Why are we talking about his age? Fuck a dangerous fight. I'm talking about his age.
What about his age? So what? He's old. What do you want us to say?
Why aren't we talking about it? Why aren't you guys talking about it? You guys were talking about Ortiz's age.
Because he passed out in the 7th round. That's why we're talking about Ortiz's age.
What?
I think because he looked like he was ready to die in the 7th round of that fight.
He's never been knocked out. He's never fucking been knocked around the ring like fucking Povetkin has.
So what?
Ortiz is the same age as Povetkin, and you guys are bashing him for being like 50 years old. But why aren't you bashing Povetkin?
Nobody's bashing Ortiz for being 50. We're just saying he's old.
Are you accusing us of being age discriminatory?
No, I'm saying we need to. I mean, I just don't like to double
That's not who we are. We don't discriminate against any person, whether they're age.
What are you being sponsored by AARP? What do you care?
What's up with all this virtue signaling here? What's going on? What is this, Fox News?
Ortiz and shit. You were like, he's like 60 years old. Fucking Povetkin, same dude. He's an old ass guy.
So what do you want him to ask you out? I don't. What are you mad? I disrespected Ortiz.
What? I mean, AJ's best win is against a 42-year-old. Now he's fighting a 38-year-old. I mean, is that we don't need to talk about that?
No.
We don't want to talk about this?
No.
Why not?
I don't care how old the guy is. I care about what he's going to do when he's in the ring.
Right.
The guy fucking got dropped by fucking David Price almost. I mean, we know what AJ's going to do. He's going to fucking run through him. What are you acting like he's not going to run through him for? Everybody knows he's going to run through this.
He's not going to run through him. I don't believe that.
Bag.
I don't think he is.
He's a fucking punching bag. He has no skills at all.
I don't think he is, especially when he's going to have that ostrum in him.
He's like a robotic. He's like a robotic bump with like a big ass belly and shit.
Since you're our PBC correspondent here, who's Wilder going to fight next? Is he going to fight Brazil next?
He's the mandatory. Why not? Since White is fighting,
pretty much
Parker.
his only option, right?
Who else is going to fight?
That's his only option.
Better option in America besides Brazil? Really?
I don't think he's got a better option. Period.
What about Big Baby Miller?
Nah, that's
that motherfucker doesn't come to fight. He comes to fucking hug and lean on you. He's like
his fight with Pulev is in jeopardy now too. Did you hear about that? Big Baby Miller's fight with Pulev's in jeopardy.
I don't feel like watching Big Baby's big ass belly for 12 rounds. I don't feel like watching that.
Now you're discriminating against people that are heavy. What is this? First, people can't be old. Now people can't be overweight. What are you going to do? What do you think? Only alpha males can walk this planet? You think I have 15 billion beeps on this planet? That's not right.
He's not overweight, dude. He's like the size of a fucking small car. He's like the size of like a fucking Chevy two-door.
He's a power lifter. He's in the gym benching 460. Come on.
Now they're saying he's not going to fight Pulev either. What's up with all these?
That's what I just said. That fight's in jeopardy. I just said the fight's in jeopardy. Still with us? What happened? You didn't pay the cell phone bill?
Yeah, we're here.
You didn't pay a cell phone bill.
Not a cricket cutting you off.
I'm right here, man. I'm right here. Did you
right.
He's not fighting Pulev now? He's not going to Bulgaria?
But I heard that the fight's in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I haven't talked to him yet. I have to ask him.
Also, you guys are talking about this Ramirez guy needing to step up. The next week is fucking the same ass horrible main event. I mean, this Danny O'Connor guy wasn't even ranked before.
Guys from Boston, man. Anyone from Boston, man. Mean streets of Boston, you can scrap.
It is.
He's from the mean streets of South Boston. He can scrap, baby.
Gotta like that.
Don't sell him short.
He's from Boston. That means he's a punching bag coming to take some punches. That's all.
We don't have puncher bags in Boston. The only puncher bags we have in Boston are at friggin' Olympia Sports.
He's a punching bag like Mark Wahlberg. He's come to take some punches.
Yeah, Wahlberg's a big star.
One of the highest earning actors of all time.
Big star.
Here. A big star.
Also, I wanted to make that comparison. You know, we were talking about Parker and Wilder. Parker used to sell like 4,000 tickets in New Zealand, and people talk about Wilder not being a star. Wilder sold.
I agree. And even he got 33%.
Just going off that metric, he deserves way more than Parker.
Dana White is from Boston. That's correct.
That's right, Uncle Dana, baby.
He is from Boston.
And Dana White, did you read the new article? That guy fucking sounds confused. He's like, I don't have no idea how to get started in boxing. I mean, I don't even know what to do. All the guys are signed up. He's not doing shit in boxing. He's just saying that shit to get headlines. Did you read the new article?
We'll see.
No.
See what happens.
We don't see. We already see. He's fucking too dumb to get into boxing. He can't compete in here. There's too many sharks here.
More crack journalism
in the UFC
from
and
Jason.
MMA. There's not enough sharks. Also, PBO, Beep, did you see? I sent you the message. Drake shouted out Al Heyman on his new album. Did you hear what he said?
What did he say? Tell me what he said.
Said I love that guy Jason who washes out Heyman's car.
Can you send Beep the link so he can hear it too?
I would, but I'm a little busy right now. If you haven't noticed.
You're not busy. You were just messaging me on fucking Facebook, you cunt. Beep, he said.
Whoa! You can't say that word, yeah.
Beep, listen, Beep. Yes. He said Al Heyman checks off for all of my events. I love the profits, man. I hardly do percent. So he's trying to tell people when he lets Al Heyman promote his tours and shit, he gets all the profits. He doesn't keep just a little tiny percentage. You know what I'm saying?
That's very good, Jason.
Well, if it came out on a Drake album, it's got to be true.
I mean, I'm happy to hear that. That's going to probably help me sleep a little bit better.
And doesn't that kind of
normally tonight.
That kind of relates to why Eddie can't take the PBC fighters away from Al. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, he's not going to take the fighters away. There's no way.
You know what I'm saying?
There's no way he's going to
Send
take
the
the
beep the link. Eric gonna be a little bitch. Send it to him.
What about Benavidez? What about Benavidez? He can't get away from Heyman either.
Yeah, he went back, dude. They only paid him $250K. If they really wanted him, they should have given him a bigger signing bonus. I mean, $250K. What's in LA? You can buy like a 1-bedroom house with that. I mean, what the fuck is $250K in LA? Really?
A 1-bedroom house.
They should have given him $1 million. Yeah, what can you buy in LA for $250K, Eric? Really, realistically.
Robert lives in a 3-bedroom. Robert lives in a 3 or 4-bedroom mansion over there. Upstairs, downstairs, basement.
No, you can't.
In-ground pool.
Maybe in maybe in Cucamonga in the fucking ghetto. Maybe.
Is this move with LeBron James going to the Lakers a good move?
I don't know. I mean, listen, man. You know, he's won. Cleveland can't really complain too much about him. I mean, they really can't because he came back. He won a title with him.
You were saying Zurdo Ramirez is one of the best. He can't compete with everybody. Jose Uskadegu, he would beat the shit out of Ramirez.
Listen,
the guy that beat Durrell.
Other side.
Listen. I like Uzgataki. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but he didn't have an easy fight with Durrell.
He would beat the dog shit out of Zurdo. He would beat the dog shit out of Zurdo.
I don't know that.
That would be a good fight.
I mean, we do.
That'd be a good fight. I like that guy.
He's not a fighter. He has no killer instinct. He has no desire to KO or finish anything. He's like low energy, kind of like Caleb Plant. He's like weak. Caleb Plant and Ramirez are on the same level.
You think you can stand up to Caleb Plant's punches?
I'm not a fighter. Relax, Eric.
I'm not a fighter. Whoa. How can someone that's not a fighter call a fighter weak? Walk up to him and say, "Hey, you're weak." Then we get out of here.
I'll knock you out there, Eric. I'll knock you out, Eric.
Is that right?
I'll knock Eric out there.
You know, Eric takes MMA classes. You just rolled someone up the other day.
I'll
you don't know what Eric's capable of. Don't let that smile fool you.
He'll Peter Quillen me like the Jenny Jacobs fight.
You don't know what Eric's capable of. You've seen him get angry before.
All right, Jason.
Victor Ortiz and Ben Rios got signed too. Let's talk about that shit.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, when's that happening?
Can't wait to not watch that fight, huh?
Yeah. That's gonna be a main event on Fox.
That fight's horrible. That ain't gonna be a main event anywhere. That fight.
I'm picking Ortiz in that fight.
Jose Ramirez and Donnie. That's way better than Jose Ramirez, Daniel and Connor, or Ramirez versus Angulo.
I'm not sure of that. Yeah, I don't know. All right, Jason.
There'll be more action, I'm pretty sure. Shut up, Robbie. Peace, guys.
Do a hit you on the way out.
I love when Robbie does that. He was like, "All right, Jason, we gotta go. All right, we'll see you later, man." He just cut him off.
God, I can't stand his calls.
That's awesome.
Eric, can I interrupt the show for 2 seconds?
Yes.
Rihanna's disappointed that she wasn't on camera when she did the Chugga Chugga Choo Choo, so I'm going to let her do it on camera. Go ahead.
Why would you not put her on camera?
Chugga 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 Choo Choo.
All right.
All right, I guess this brings me to my next point. Why would you not put her on camera?
Because she wasn't fully dressed.
All right, well, yeah, that's a good reason. All right, so
that's the reason why.
That's a great reason.
I'm sorry.
Next time, Beeb, you got to treat her like LeBron James, okay?
Like royalty, right. King James, baby, King James. Yeah, I think it's a
154 reasons why.
Man, I tell you what, 154 million
reasons why.
Yeah, you can't mess with that, man. And you know, Cleveland, like I said, man, Cleveland can't be mad at him. He came back here, won a title, took him to all the finals and everything like that. You can't be mad at that.
Does he go to the finals with the Lakers though?
I don't know.
Well, it depends on who joins him. They need. He can't do it by himself. They need to bring in another superstar to be with him.
That's the thing. I mean, with Cleveland, I mean, he needed more people around him. I think
he's so was this basically a money move then?
Huh?
It's basically just a money move, money grab.
I think. But I think Cleveland. I think LA is going to put some people around him, though. I think they're going to try to put some people around him for sure. Yeah,
with Magic Johnson in charge now, the Lakers are going to be run a lot better than they have been in the past. And he's a guy that's been in the game his whole life, and he's going to make sure that LeBron has somebody with him. There's all kinds of rumors about many different people. And I don't think LeBron James would sign a contract with the Lakers unless he knew ahead of time, hey, we're going to get so-and-so to come and play with you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He doesn't want to go to like just a rebuild team or something like that. I mean, I think they'll put somebody around him for sure. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. See how it goes. We'll see what happens to Cleveland, man. See if they get anybody after all the room clears on the salary. So there you go.
Yeah,
From this day, you'll be my new fool.
Georgie, 508. You're live.
Hey, Georgie, what's up?
What's up, Georgie?
Happening, people.
How are you, brother?
How you doing tonight?
Good, brother.
Good.
Listen, brother, we gotta get a few things straight here. Who is these people that they talk about? Because I heard people talking about Deontay Wilder, that he's the champion of the world, that he's the people's champ. In a country of 360 million motherfuckers, you cannot put 20,000 people on a seat to watch you. Let me get, who we talking? We talking about the lost tribe of Israel? Are we talking about a tribe in the Amazon? Go hell the fuck no, we ain't talking about no USA here, are we? Huh?
So who else is number two then? So who's the second most popular heavyweight in the division then? If it's not Deontay Wilder, who else is there? Who's number two?
Bro, numbers are there. That shit will never lie.
Who's number two though? Who's number two?
We're talking about numbers.
Who's number two?
Let's talk about these numbers.
Who's number two?
It's the same side. But
who is number two?
Side that we talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Can I talk?
Just answer me. Who's number two? We already established that Joshua's number one. Who's number two?
I'm not talking about number two right now.
Well, you have to have a number two when you have a number one. Number one just can't be one number. It has to have a number two attached to it.
Regardless, B, that don't matter. I just trying to
Who's number two?
Canelo.
Who's number two?
Whoever you won. Who you won? You want Wilder there?
Look,
I'm asking you, who's number two?
Georgie, wouldn't you agree that Anthony Joshua is Georgie, wouldn't you agree that Anthony Joshua is the number one heavyweight in the world and Deontay Wilder is number two?
That's okay, baby. That's okay. But you gotta understand something. I heard another caller talking about he don't want to talk about A-side. You mean you don't want to talk about A-side? Go to a dealership and ask him the price that you want for a car, and they will let you know who the fuck the A-side is there. When the landlord come asking for the rent, tell him that he's not the A-side, and you're gonna find out who the fuck the A-side is there. Come on, bro. This man have earned this shit. They doing shit on the UK.
This is so funny because he used to call Floyd Mayweather a diva all the time when he used to call the A-side, B-side shit. Now he's welcoming it.
And all that bullshit.
Oh my God. This is what I'm talking about, the hypocrisy.
What hypocrisy?
He used to be the first person to always criticize Floyd Mayweather for being a diva and overusing that A-side, B-side. He used to hate the A-side, B-side shit when it came to Floyd Mayweather. And he used to call Floyd Mayweather a diva. But now he's embracing it all of a sudden now that it's Anthony Joshua. That's hypocrisy.
Excuse me, Beeb, excuse me. Because you're going to have to bring some type of video, audio, or fucking YouTube comment from me. And you're not going to find one. So might as well just retract that right now.
You always used to shit on Floyd Mayweather. I remember the phone calls when I was on the other show. You always used to shit on Floyd. You always shit on Floyd Mayweather.
And prove it on the air.
You're a Floyd Mayweather fan. You're a Floyd Mayweather fan.
challenge.
Are you a Floyd Mayweather fan? 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 Yes or no?
I never talk that shit about never. You can't.
Are you a Floyd Mayweather fan?
No
Are
receipt.
you a Floyd Mayweather fan?
No receipt.
You won't answer the question.
Let's move on. So we gotta listen. We gotta talk about credibility here.
We have to talk about hypocrisy too.
This is the same people. Babe, I cannot talk over you. Either you let me talk or you talk. What we gonna do here?
I mean, I'll stop talking if you answer my questions. I think you should at least answer my questions.
Here we go again. Try to make a point. Here you go again.
All right, go ahead.
Listen, Untitled said that the answer was they got 1.3 million views. But this is the same fucking lying ass side who forgot to tell you that was a free preview on Showtime. Get Anthony Joshua on fucking prime time at 9 o'clock. See how he doesn't obliviate his fucking numbers from Wilder. Put those shit to shame. Out of here. This is the same side that when Spencer was about to fight that fucking Mexican dude, the so-called #1 from the IBF, or Crapple, he sold out 14,000 seats, 15,000 seats. That was the lyrics all around. Sold out, sold out, sold out. Numbers come out, 12,600. So 1,400 or 2,400, they all got a flat tire on the way there. They all got the flu. So that's the side that they want me to believe. Come on now. Ridiculous. You ain't got no support. Same Russian bots, same fake accounts, same fucking Heyman free tickets. And the last he tried to fucking act for 50-50. Because he got a WBC Mafia bullshit. They only got some sentimental value since fucking like 20 years ago. You talking about, oh, but you declared 50 million. What? The 50 million that people are going to pay just to see AJ fight? The 50 million that he cannot generate by himself or anybody else besides AJ? How is the conversation even going? That man, listen. The notion that the answer was got any type of negotiation power is moronic to start with. It's stupid to start with. This man had his chance to say into contract. He should have said, thank you. That's what he should have said. Thank you. And shut his fucking mouth up. Talking about his demanding. Demanding what? Jesus Christ. Go ahead and make my point. You can rebuttal, Biggs.
Who's the heavyweight in the division?
Get closer to the mic, because sometimes I don't hear you.
Who's the second heavy?
Who's the second best heavyweight in the division, and who's the second biggest name in the division?
Two different questions.
Well, answer both of them. Answer both of them.
I can do better numbers fighting Fury than with what Wilder will do. I bet you Fury is the second most fucking draw on the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
But Fury won't be ready for 2 years, though. Fury won't be ready for 2 years. I'm talking about right now. Fury won't be ready for 2 years. They can't make the fight now. Fury's got 4 more tune-ups ready, lined up for himself.
The question was that who drove the most? Fury will draw more than Wilder, hands down.
Yeah.
So you think a Joshua Fury fight would do more numbers than a Joshua Wilder fight? I don't think so.
All right, baby, this is what's going to happen here. Everybody just leashing the AJ name. If you don't put Eddie Hearn and AJ on the title, nobody even watch these videos. Watch when they announce Brazil. Watch how people are going to not even give a fuck. I'm telling you. Every time somebody's going to break a news, they got to put AJ's name on it.
Can I ask you another question? Can I ask you another question? Can I ask you another question?
Fuck about him.
Can I get back in here? Can I ask you another question? After Anthony Joshua's next fight, if he beats Povetkin, is he going to be asked when you're going to fight Fury next, or is he going to be asked when you're going to fight Deontay Wilder next? What's going to be asked?
As a matter of fact, I don't want to.
No one's asking him when he's going to fight Fury next. He's only being asked when he's going to fight Wilder next.
I don't care what anybody says. The point got to be across that AJ is the man. And after all the due respect that AJ fucking side did and all these separatist motherfuckers, guess what? Sit him down. Freeze him. You ain't getting no shot for like 2 or 3 years.
So you don't care about divas anymore. You're not going to call fighters divas anymore like you used to. You're not going to sit there and say, "Oh, this is bullshit. This A-side, B-side shit. It's all mafia." You're not going to say these things anymore moving forward with other fighters, right? You're not going to. I mean, I'm going to respect your opinion. I just want to make sure you're going to be consistent moving forward. If that's what you're going to do, then I have to accept it. Okay. So you can't call fighters divas anymore, then, right? You can't call Canelo a diva anymore. You can't call Mayweather a diva and say Mayweather was a diva anymore. You can't do that anymore, then, right?
Never. I respect Mayweather for a long ass time for what he done. Because as a matter of fact, if somebody fought the mafia and won was Mayweather. Even that at the end he became one, but as well, he was a boxer, he fought all the fucking mafias. Like B-Hop fought all the mafia. But at the end, they became one. You never gonna hear me. You ever find no video, no text, nothing from me to respect Mayweather like that. Never.
Didn't you pick Pacquiao? Didn't you pick Pacquiao to beat Mayweather? Because you said Mayweather was a diva.
All right, baby, we're talking about Pacquiao, and we're talking about Mayweather, and what the fuck got to do that with anything?
All right. Well, because you're bringing up Fury, so I mean, I can bring up other names too, right? You want to bring up Fury, who no one's asking Joshua to fight Fury right now. After what Fury looked like in his last fight, you think that's a fight that people really want to see right now? After looking at what Fury looked like in his last fight, you really think that would sell more than a Wilder fight right now? Honestly, be honest and tell me the truth. You think Tyson Fury in this particular state right now would people are actually taking him serious right now?
Listen, but that name right there.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. That name right there will sell Wilder basically.
Not right now it won't. Not right now it won't. Not right now it won't.
You crazy. You crazy.
No one is asking Anthony Joshua right now when he's going to fight Fury next. Everyone's asking him when he's going to fight Wilder next because that's the fight people want. That's it.
Yeah, Fury's not competitive at this point. He wouldn't be competitive with Joshua or Wilder at this point.
Not competitive. No one wants that. And if you're saying if you're hyping up that fight now,
right
before this fight, then you have to just be a Deontay Wilder hater. There's no other way. There's no other way to get around it. If you think Fury right now is a better fight right now than Deontay Wilder is with Anthony Joshua, then you're just a Wilder hater. You're just a Wilder hater. There's no way around it.
There's only one.
You're a Wilder hater. You don't like Wilder.
Anthony Joshua.
Robbie, another thing, Robbie, let me get at you. Because you comparing AJ's record with Wilder's record, that shit's not even close.
Of course it's close. I
don't think it's close either. I gotta be honest.
Times anybody that fucking the Wilder fought. Park it alone.
You didn't understand what I was trying to say. You didn't understand what I was trying to say.
So what are you trying to say?
I'm not going to go into it because you're yelling and arguing with everybody today, and I'm not going to get into that.
So does it really matter? Does it really matter when they're in the ring together? When they're in the ring together, they're going to be fighting each other. They're not going to be fighting each other's resumes. But when they're in the ring together, they're going to be fighting each other. They're not going to be fighting each other's resumes. Right? They're going to be fighting each other.
Listen.
Who has a better resume, Joe Smith or Bernard Hopkins? Joe Smith beat Bernard Hopkins.
Listen.
Bernard Hopkins has a better resume.
Listen.
Who has a better resume? Mike Tyson or Buster Douglas? Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. Doesn't matter. Can't bring the resume in the ring with you. You got to fight the guy. Doesn't matter.
Listen.
These are all deflections. These are all deflections. These are all deflections. When you talk about who sells more, who sells more, Muhammad Ali or George Foreman? Did anyone ask that question? How many people were in that stadium when Muhammad Ali and George Foreman fought? Who was the A-side there? That people remember that fight because it was a great fight with two great fighters in it. Stop with the A-side, B-side bullshit. It's fucking killing the sport. It means zero. You want to see Tyson. You want to see a Tyson Fury that looked like shit in his last fight Anthony Joshua before Deontay Wilder. That's sick. That's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem.
For ages.
No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. Never been. It's never been this bad. It's never been this bad.
All right, boys.
Hey, you know what? The Cleveland Cavaliers aren't going to play the Boston Celtics tonight. You know why?
Guys,
Boston Celtics didn't sell out their last game. We're not going to play them. We're not going to play them in the finals. They didn't sell out their last game. Get the fuck out of here. It's so corny. It's so corny.
I think this has gone far enough.
Yeah, Georgie, we're going to move on. All right, buddy.
I love you. I love you, but you know what? I'm going to have to say some prayers for you. I love you, but I'm going to have to say some prayers for you. And I'm not even religious either. I'm freaking agnostic, but I'll still say some prayers for you.
Love in the room. Love in the room here on Ringside Reporter, as always. All right. 8:04. You're live.
Hello, Corey.
Corey, we can
Corey.
barely. Corey, we can barely hear you.
Turn the volume up on the cricket.
Oh, man.
Yeah, if we're on speaker, take us off.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
All right, man. What's going on with everybody today, man? Y'all got me coming off of two guys out of control, man.
Yeah, and Georgie's never like I don't know.
He was
must be
wired
drinking
today.
something, man.
Some people really hate Deontay Wilder, man. They just do.
Robbie, everybody doesn't drink. Robbie.
Well, I mean, come on. Something must be in the damn water. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but yeah, man. How's everybody doing, man? But yeah.
Good.
You got to get me back with another banger when I call in. Eric, you dropping the ball, buddy. Come on, man.
Beeb, give it to him.
Soundbite ready, baby.
Back with another banger.
That's all I need, baby. But yeah, man. So yeah, man, it was a good fight. It was a good weekend of fights, you guys. I hope everybody enjoyed it, man. I think we got fight of the year this weekend, man. I really truly do, man. I think we got fight of the year.
It was a good one.
It was a freaking awesome fight last night that I watched, man. And I mean, you got to understand, man, when two guys get in there, man, it's not for sure that they're going to leave the exact same that they came in there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I truly think that was the case last night.
Yeah.
You know, with both fighters. You know, and you got to understand that I think his name is Lenny. And you know the two fighters that fought last night. You know their two names. I can't remember their names right off top.
Alex Saucedo and I don't know how to pronounce the other guy, but they put on a hell of a show.
Ooh, man, I was just like back and forth, man. I mean, the shit was just awesome, man. And you know, like I said, the winner's supposed to be fighting Maurice Hooker. And, you know, Maurice Hooker didn't really show me a lot against Terry Flanagan. You know, I mean, it could have went either way. You know, it could have went either way. You know, he didn't show me an A-class performance. And the two guys last night, you know what I mean? You know, I think one just got beat the fuck up more than the other got beat up. But they both got beat up. You know what I mean? So it's one of those type of fights. It's one of those type of fights, you know, when Maurice Hooker fights him, it's gonna be the battle of two wheels. Can Maurice Hooker, you know what I mean, stay his distance and work off the jab? You know what I mean? He was able to, you know, nullify Terry Flanagan's power. And, you know, Terry Flanagan was going in 33-0 with 17 KOs. And, you know, he was looking good, you know, for some of the fight. And then I feel like the second half of the fight, Maurice Hooker was looking good. So it was a pretty good fight, man. But now they're both going to fight each other. And I truly think that it'll be a good fight. You know, I think it'll be a good fight. And, you know, the other fight that happened at 140 is Regis Prograis versus Jose Ramirez, but now Regis Prograis is saying that Maurice Hooker better keep his name out of his mouth and all of this shit, and I'm like, oh my God. So now they're getting into it. So, man, I mean, you know, that'd be some fireworks too, man. Maurice Hooker versus Regis Prograis.
That's a good fight.
Salito or whatever his name is.
Yeah, it's a good fight.
Cecito last
It's
night.
Cecito. Alex Cecito, Corey.
Alex Cecito versus Regis Prograis. Give me that, baby.
Yeah.
Well, no, with Cecito winning last night, he becomes the mandatory for Hooker. So Hooker can't fight anybody else.
Yeah, but I thought Hooker joined the tournament though.
I don't think. Did he, Eric?
From what I was told, Hooker joined the tournament.
I think he did. You know? I'm not 100%, but I thought I read that.
Yeah. From what I was told, the winner of Terry Flanagan and Maurice Hooker was already signed in to join the
Okay, all right.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So, you know, when those two guys fight each other, you know, because Regis Prograis is going to be in the tournament. So, you know, Maurice Hooker versus Regis Prograis would be a good fight as well. That's going to be a fight that's going to happen.
Tournament's insane, by the way.
Well, I like the guy from New Orleans, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think Regis Prograis is going to clean up that tournament. And, you know, I think he's going to be the last man standing after all the smoke clears at 140. You know, but, you know, moving on, man, you know, I truly think that, you know, we got some pretty good fights coming up, man. I mean, you know, you got the Mikey Garcia versus Robert Easter Jr.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people saying in that fight coming up, you know what I mean, on July 28th, a lot of people are saying that, you know, Robert Easter, they're switching picks now. You know what I mean? I've heard a lot of people, you know,
I have too.
Picks for Robert Easter.
I have too.
And I'm just trying to figure out why. I mean, I understand. I know, you know, Robert Easter can, you know, he can perform, but you know, they said you're only as good as your last fight. His last fight did not look that entertaining, in my point of view. You know, and I think that, you know, Robert Easter Jr. has a lot to work on. You know what I mean? Fighting tall is one of them. That should be the only thing. That should be one of the main things that he works on in training camp. Is fighting tall and is fighting long. You know, I mean, because when he fights inside with Mikey Garcia, I'm sorry, but I'm favoring Mikey Garcia in the inside. You know what I mean? It's gonna be one of those bang bang, thank you, ma'am, and Robert Easter's gonna be on the floor. You know, so I mean, I think it'll be a good fight, you know, for the most part, man. But with that being said, switching over to the main event on the ESPN card last night, you know, Zordo, I mean, wow, man.
He looked like crap. He looked like crap.
Yeah, I've said this on my show before, and I'm gonna say it out loud now, man. I'm gonna say it stronger than ever. David Benavidez beat the shit out of Zordo. And I knew he could do it, but I knew he was, you know, I knew Benavidez was still green because he's younger than Zordo. Benavidez is the youngest active world champion in the world right now, in the whole entire world. So I knew Benavidez was going to be I knew he was, you know, green. I knew he had greenness in him, you know what I mean? Because he's so young. Being that young, you're gonna be a little green. But seeing the holes that I seen last night, and just the fucking right hand that was open all day long for Angulo last night, that makes it so, it just solidifies Benavidez's right hand to knock out Zordo. Benavidez is going to knock out Zordo. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no equivocation. I know that's going to happen.
That fight's not, I don't even know that fight will happen, though.
But will Bob Arum Arum put him in with him.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, Bob Arum's got to negotiate with Al Heyman.
Right.
And that's the
Good luck
question.
with that.
Will he do that?
They're back working again, so hey, we'll see. Bob Arum is back working with Al Heyman, so we'll see. I truly think that a lot more fights would be to come. And
we'll see.
Gary Russell Jr. versus Lomachenko was one of the first fights after they got out of court. And when that fight happened, that opened the floodgates to maybe other fights happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a fight that I would definitely like to see, man. And with that being said, man, I'm not gonna talk you guys' head off like the other guys, man. I'm gonna go ahead and leave in peace. You guys have a great night, man.
Okay,
and,
see you, Corey.
Salute, man.
All right.
Keep making them videos, brother. Keep pumping them out, baby.
That's right.
Banger. Banger.
That's it, man. Yeah, check out Corey Lee Boxing on YouTube. He's always got a good stuff on there. So there you go. All right, let's go to area code 480. 480.
Is that a new one? Is that a new one?
Phoenix, I think.
Yeah, that's Arizona.
480. Going once.
Are you there?
I
guess they're not.
All right, that's fine. 302. I believe this is Delaware, yes?
Yeah.
Delaware.
Good old Delaware.
302. You're live.
Yeah. Okay, my name is Owen.
Owen, how are you?
Interested in the Deontay Wilder. I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I'm interested in making a comment on Deontay Wilder and AJ's fight. And there's been so much around this $50 million issue. And we fail to look at the entire story from start when Deontay Wilder was offered the contract. He went silent for nearly a whole month without saying a word on social media. And AJ, when being interviewed at some point, said, okay, I'll take the fight. Give me 50 million, I'll take the fight. All right. Deontay wakes up one morning, 1 month after he was issued a $12.5 million contract, and says, okay, I have $50 million for you. And AJ is looking. When has it, we didn't even stop to think, does a fighter make an offer to another fighter over such an amount of money? Where's that money going to come from? All right. His people said, okay, no problem. You have the 50 million, show it to us. And Eddie Hearn was in New York, wanted to meet with Shelley Finkel. Finkel refused and said, you have to take my offer or forget it. 24 hours. Who does that in business? This is a genuine thing. We have fans, people are invested in it. Why can't you meet with the guy and say, okay, these are the terms, this is the money, this is where you're going to find the money, take it, sign, and let's have the fight. Now it will be on AJ's part to determine if he wants to take the fight in Vegas or not. He didn't fulfill any of those. At the end of the day, that was called up. They made him a new offer. And he knows WBA is going to call in their mandatory. WBA even gave them an extra month over that negotiation. They were very nice. So we cannot even blame the WBA over this fact that, okay, they were going to call in their mandatory because they extended by 1 month. And then it took you how many days over the fact that you didn't know where the fight was going to take place in the whole of UK. AJ only fights in 2 places. Everybody knows that. If you're not going to fight in Wembley, it's going to be in Cardiff. There is nothing about that. Even a child who will be watching AJ's fight can tell you, okay, it's either going to be in Wembley or Cardiff, and the date. Because of that, you fail to turn in the contract until the night the WBA called in their mandatory. Where is the honesty in this whole thing? Wilder is a good boxer, but he's a very, very bad businessman. That's just the truth. All his decisions, it has shown, and and I look at him 5 years from now, 10 years from now, he's going to regret part of these decisions he's made, not cashing in on that money. Every time you put on gloves as a boxer, you're risking your life. Somebody makes you an offer, $5 million, fight anybody. Take the offer. Put the money, put down your silly pride. You're saying you have to have the fight in Vegas. If you wanted to put yourself in a position to have to call the shots, I believe all these years that you were fighting, you would have prepared yourself to be in a position to call the shots. Unfortunately, this other guy has 3 belts over your head. Now you want to say, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry. In boxing, every little thing matters. Even where the location of the fight is, matters. We cannot simply rule it out. And this guy is saying, for his own legacy, for the first time he wants that unification done in England, he's going to have it in England or no place else. Has he earned the right to say that? So these are the things we need to do. We need to look at. Let's be honest and call it as it is. All right.
Let me ask you a question. I don't know how.
90 seconds.
But other heavyweight champions have fought outside of their home country or their hometowns. They have traveled all over the world and made successful title defenses. Are you saying that Anthony Joshua, because he has 3 belts, he's got no right to go anywhere else other than Cardiff or Wembley Stadium?
Oh, wait. He does. He does. And he does have a right to go anywhere else.
60 seconds.
Right, for goodness sake. But if he has said, and he's insisting that, okay, I'm going to have the fight here, all right? This is where I want the fight. This is where the fight is going to be. Well, of course, it's either Wilder's choice to take the fight or not. But for Wilder to say, I'll fight you anywhere, I'll meet you anywhere, contract is on the table, he doesn't sign, he can't tell me he can't find a pen, all right? If you think you can beat AJ anywhere, we have no problem with that. If you like, go there, beat him round 1, fair and square, we want you to do that. As a matter of fact, walk over there, deal with him, collect all the belts, come back, you stand a chance to have a rematch in Vegas. Now you can tell him, okay, I came to your spot, I beat and I dealt with you.
10 seconds.
I want you in Vegas. It's AJ's turn to say, okay, I'm going to meet you in Vegas and have that rematch, or I'm going to run away from you. Simple. There is nothing about this other than Wilder putting his name to that paper. Put your name to that paper since you claim you can beat him. There is no problem about it. Go there and beat him. But for you to think that the only place a fight can take place is in the US, it is babush. That is rubbish. The whole world is bigger than America. And the fight can take place any place else other than America. So for the US, for the US fight fans who are supporting Wilder to think that, okay, it has to be Vegas or no place else, since all the fights in the world, all the unification fights have taken place in Vegas. Oh, sorry. Now the world has changed. You're finding out that there is somebody else who can call the shots better than you over this problem. Now you got to go to Wembley or you got to go to Cardiff, or that fight doesn't take place. So what are you going to do? It's either the fight takes place or it doesn't take place. It's just that simple. If you don't want to go, you don't want to go.
There you go. All right.
That's Owen, all right now.
We appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Robert, let me ask you, you had said, I just want to expound on what you said before. You said that heavyweight champions go outside and fight. I don't necessarily buy into that. If he wants to fight in England, he can fight in England. Can he create the same kind of revenue? Yeah, I think he can in the United States. But Floyd Mayweather did this all the time too. He fought in one place. It's not that uncommon.
No, Eric, you missed my whole point.
Sure.
Remember when the whole 50 million thing was on the table?
Yes.
And we were discussing how he could make the 50 million, and we all decided in this panel on this show, in previous shows, that in order for him to make the 50 million, it had to be here in the U.S. It had to be on U.S. pay-per-view.
No question.
There's no way he can make that kind of money, of a $50 million payday, by himself in the UK, because of the time difference. There's no way that the US cable providers would allow a fight to take place in the UK with the time difference. Am I wrong about that?
No, but I think we've agreed on that, though. I think we all agreed on that. There's no way he's not going to generate 50 million anywhere else in the world except here. I don't think there's any question about that. But he wasn't even in this fight that he was negotiating, where they offered Wilder 15 million or whatever they offered him. He wasn't. Joshua's cut was not 50 million.
Right.
So I mean,
we know the 50 million is off the table, Eric. We know that Wilder's going to get 15, and we don't know what Joshua would get, but we would assume it would be more. I
was assuming 35
with the UK pay-per-view and stuff like that.
B, were you thinking like 30, 35, somewhere in there?
What for the fight in the UK?
Yes.
I was thinking about 35, 40-ish.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. But the problem. Go ahead, I'm sorry. No, go with the news. Go ahead. That's fine.
I was just going to go ahead and move on, but go ahead and finish.
I was just going to say the only problem we have, the only problem we have with these Joshua purses is, I challenge anyone. Google Joshua Parker purses, and I pulled up like 3 or 4 different UK websites that have all different numbers. So what is he actually making? We don't know. Just like we don't know exactly what Deontay Wilder's making. So I hear people say, "Oh, he's making 25, 30 million a fight." I'd love to see them open the books. I'd just like to see them open the books.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm curious.
Well, we'll never see it though, unfortunately.
No, you never will.
All right, let's go ahead and move on with the news here real quick. Canelo versus Triple G tickets are on sale. The pre-sale was this week. Tickets range from $300 for the nosebleed seats to $5,000 for I'm assuming ringside seats.
Yeah.
Good luck with that one. Yeah, good luck.
This is why the big fights are in the United States, because I go on the Sky box office right now and look at how much the tickets are for friggin' Dillian White and Joseph Parker. They're not even near the stratosphere of those prices.
No, not even close.
And neither will Joshua Povetkin either. No. So that's why you want to fight in the United States, so you can charge $5,000 for ringside seats.
It irritates me because most boxing fans are not going to be able to afford those prices. They're all going to go to corporations, or it's just like Super Bowl tickets. It's like the real people that really want to see this fight won't be able to see it.
But that's what the pay-per-views are for.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's gonna go to the casino heavy hitters and all the big wigs.
Guys like Robert,
celebrities.
Robert will get a couple tickets. Maybe he can get
Joshua sells up 90,000 seat stadiums, but the gate's only 12 million, 11.5, 12 million.
Yeah, that's big.
It's just people. That's a big component that people continue to subtract out. They don't want to factor that in. Canelo and Golovkin are going to fight in front of 17,000 people, probably 16.5, 17, and their gate's going to be 27, 28 million.
Yeah, how insane is that?
That's what it's about.
Yeah. The World Boxing Super Series adds a super lightweight tournament. Do you think they'll have TV in the States this time? Will they get a sponsor, and will there be some fights in the U.S., I wonder?
Maybe.
I hope so.
Josh Taylor enters the World Boxing Super Series 140-pound tournament. That is an amazing tournament, man. I'll tell you what, that is a solid tournament right there. Both divisions, I mean, everything. I love this tournament. Love it. Arthur Betterbeeve and Callum Johnson set for October 6th.
Wow.
And as we talked about on the top of the show, Adrian Bronner signs a $50 million deal with TMT. Bronner took to social media this week and claims that he was offered a 5-fight, $50 million deal. He tweeted about it, says, I'm glad we buried the hatchet, talking about Floyd Mayweather and, hashtag Big Brother and this and that. And said basically it's a 5-fight, $50 million deal. The problem is that it has not been confirmed by anyone other than Adrian Bronner's social media. So my guess, unless you're a moron, is that he didn't sign any contract worth $50 million. He's trolling again. He was very close to being the train wreck of the week, I got to be honest. But
I think he should have been.
I think he should have been too. I think he was right there. It is the Adrian Bronner train wreck of the week. Let me tell you what, though, if Floyd did sign him for this price, he's a moron. Would this be worse than the Rock Nation Miguel Cotto deal?
Oh yeah,
100% worse, right?
Without even a second thought.
Exactly.
I mean, let's look at it realistically. If this is a real contract, which we don't think it is, but you think 5 fights, that means $10 million a fight. Adrian Bronner is not worth $10 million a fight. Come on. Really? Get out of here with that.
Yeah. Wow.
Robbie's like, I ain't got no time for that.
That's right.
No, I don't. He's a train wreck for a reason.
He's almost like a permanent train wreck fixture on here.
He used to have his own series.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he really should.
Yep.
That's where he's gonna make. That's where he's gonna make the money.
The never-ending mishaps of Adrian Bronner.
That's where he's gonna make the money on reality TV. He'll make more money on reality TV than he ever did in boxing. Trust me.
Adrian Bronner, my life.
That's right.
Oh my God! Could you imagine? What a train wreck that would look like. Oh, and you couldn't help but watch.
Oh my God.
Being in front of TV
and with
every
as
week.
many TV channels as out there, somebody will actually take a chance on that. You watch.
Insane. Final note here. If you like what we're doing and we've at least been entertaining for the past 2 hours, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button or subscribe to Beating the Odds with Beeb, Ringside Reporter on iTunes, all that other good stuff. Let us know, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, man, we appreciate your support as always. That'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Robert on Twitter at Ringside Robert, or you can call Ringside Robbie's Corner at Robert. You have a new number.
Yeah, no, I've got the existing number, but what I've done is I've got 2 different numbers where you can hear the podcast. You can call and leave messages on either number, either 917-259-1810 or 773-572-7781. And with the second number, it's set up to where if you get interrupted during the podcast, say you get a phone call and you got to hang up, if you call that number back, you'll pick up right where you left off. And you can leave me messages with either number. They finally got the technology worked out. So I put the podcast up now in both locations, so you can contact me in either place.
What would be the preferred number of the location?
Oh, Robbie.
The best number to catch me would be the 917 number.
917-259-1810. Okay. All right. There you go.
Yeah.
Leave him a message. You can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at jhabib1 and find his YouTube channel at beatingtheoddswithbeeb.com. I'm at Ringside 73, and we will see you next week.
All right, fellas.
Have a good one, everybody.
Be good.